All right, behind me, I have the Mokwheel Asphalt 500-watt commuter bike with a torque sensor. And it's a pretty incredible bike. I'm really impressed with the way that this thing is actually riding with me today. So we're gonna go over the specs, you're gonna have some ride footage, and I'll go into why I think this is one bike to really consider if you're looking for a strong commuter. Let's get started.
One thing I noticed while unpacking and assembling the Mokwheel Asphalt was that they did a fantastic job in packing this bike to make sure that it was well protected. Now usually when that happens, when a bike is packed this well, often you will have to actually do a lot more assembly than bikes that come more pre-assembled. I also installed flat out tire sealant to the rear tire and another sealant called armadillos to the front. And that is because I ran out of flat outs, and both sealants are really good. I had to assemble the fender and the headlights, adjust the handlebars so that everything was nice and perfectly fit for my ride, and tested everything with the electricals, and after that I was ready to ride.
As we walk up to the Mokwheel Asphalt, I'm going to first start off with saying what makes this bike a little better or different from some of the competition that's going to be out there is that it has a torque sensor here, and it's a very well-tuned bike. The other thing is, for a torque sensor bike, it also goes up to about 29.5 miles an hour. Now it's rated as a class 2 when you get it, and you'll see that here there's a class 2 rating. Let me come on this side actually so you can see that clearly without the pedal in the way there. We have a class 2 rating, 500 watt, 20 miles an hour, and that's what it actually comes with right out of the box in the way that it's tuned. Now, of course, being that it's a Mokwheel, when they reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing one of their bikes, historically, Mokwheel has been very good about the quality of the bikes that they make and being just honestly one of the leaders of making some really good bikes. We had in the past taken out one of their 26-inch fat tire bikes, and that bike now is actually being used a lot by one of my camera guys, Steve, who absolutely just loves the bike. In this Asphalt, as far as the size, 27.5 by 2.4-inch tires. So what we have here is actually really good road tires that are still softer. Now I have them pumped up to about 50 PSI, and I think max is 55, and that way we get the most efficiency possible out of this bike, and it rides really, really nice. Now one of the reasons is we have a 100mm front suspension travel here. You have your lockouts as well. This is a hydraulic suspension in the front, but more so than that is because the width of these tires are, larger than just a 2-inch, they do help absorb that. Now these are a little harder tires as well because they do have that special skin or coating that's inside to make sure that it is a little more puncture resistant. As you'll see inside the unboxing video, I did add my own, we have flat out, and we actually have another sealant style called, I think it's called Armadillo in the front. And the reason why I used 2 different ones is because I ran out of flat out after putting in the back. So I needed something to put in the front here. We have so many thorns, I wanted to make sure that I protected myself. But I don't really think I needed it with our ride today because the possibility of getting a thorn with these to puncture it is lesser than my fat tires, where my fat tires, like, we get one every other weekend if I was not to put in flat out or those type of sealants in it. But so I put it in anyway, and that's all being said is that these tires are not just your standard regular tires. These are actually rated for a little more protection, but they're also better size, and that adds to also the comfort of the ride, because if I let some of the pressure out, I could make it a little softer if I wanted to. You get up to about 40 to 50 mile an hour range on one charge. This is a 14.7 amp hour battery. So it's not super huge, but it doesn't need to be, because when you have something like a torque sensor in here and the way that it's tuned, you don't have to worry too much about losing a lot of efficiency that would happen like maybe out of a cadence sensor, where cadence sensors, sometimes will push you up to certain speeds. Cadence sensors gotten better with having a little more tuning, where you have magnets in the front here, and all it does is sense magnets, and cadence sensors will then feel the passing through it and automatically just push the bike up to whatever PS level you're at, speeds that it's set at. Now this one here, we set it at PS level 1 because it's a torque sensor, and all it's doing is giving me a little boost of how much extra percentage of power that I want from my leg pushing. Then it's a lot more efficient. It's using my energy, adding to whatever I want to it, so we can go a lot further with it, because it's not like accelerating and pulling a whole bunch of power out of the battery to boost you up to certain speed levels. That being said, the other thing that I really like about this is that they do have it set so that your thumb throttle, which is set here on the left side, gives you full speed access no matter what PS level you're at. What that means is, if you are at PS level 1, there are some bikes that will only go up to maybe 10 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour at PS 1, which means if you want to have a quick acceleration sometime, you do need to go ahead and push up your PS levels all the way up to 5 very quickly, and then hit the throttle to be able to get more speed out of it. Well, with this one, you don't have to do that. So you can be pedaling along. If you want to boost the power, a little bit of help, even faster or more responsively, you can just go ahead and hit your throttle and it'll boost you up automatically. The other thing I want to really bring to your attention, that really makes this bike shine and literally pop out and shine, is the paint job that they did on this is absolutely gorgeous, and I really hope the camera is doing it justice. But there is this metallic sparkle throughout this. It's kind of like a navy blue in here, and this battery that's integrated in it is, they call it camouflaged or hidden. It does pop right out, so I mean, you can tell there's a battery there. It doesn't necessarily look like an e-bike like your typical ones, because it's so sleek in design. It is a solid bike. It is rated on the website at 60 pounds. To me, it feels a little heavier, but it is a 60-pound bike, and it doesn't ride like one. There's a lot of power to it. The other thing that actually makes this bike feel a little different is that these swept back handlebars, in fact, let me go ahead and come from this angle so you can see how they're swept back, kind of like a cruiser style. And it gives you a more relaxed type ride. Now, this bike is rated for someone 5'6" and above, according to the website. I'm only 5'5", and I don't have any problem with the reach, with the size of the bike. Now, this is a 29.5-inch standover, which means if you're putting your feet on the ground straight, you're going to be uncomfortable if you're under 29 inches between your legs to the ground. So this is a little tight on there, but I don't have a problem with it. I can lean on one side or the other, and it's okay at 5'5". But yes, at 5'6", that is a correct rating for this. Is where I probably recommend most riders be at. At 5'5", you can ride this. As you can see, I still have maybe about 3 inches of seat post distance that I could bring it down. And so if someone maybe 4 or 5'3" wanted to ride it, they could probably still ride this without a problem with having their seat. But this gives me full leg extension. So that's another reason why I don't like having my legs bent while riding, because of efficiency, really is what it is. So this is the most comfortable sizing that I would say 5'5", that's the absolute bare minimum height that would be best for you. The other thing that actually this benefits riders at the way that designed this to give us who are a little shorter is that the neck is adjustable. So you do see that the neck here has this angle to it, and this does allow you to go ahead and bring the handlebars closer so your reach is closer, which for those of us who are shorter that may have shorter arms, then brings the handlebars closer to you, so then you don't have this feeling like you're actually stretched out on the bike from the front to the back. So this, even though it is rated at 5'6", again, you can ride it at 5'5", and you can make adjustments to the bike to make it fit very comfortably for you. And one thing I want to just point out that took me a while to figure out is that the screw is here to actually lock the handlebar adjustment. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you look here, you'd think that this would be it. It just makes sense, right? If you go ahead and tighten here, it would bring in push it tighter and then keep it from going back and forth. And it took me a while to figure out that, hey, that's not actually working it. It's the screw here. But once I tightened that up, figured out my length. And as you can even notice here, go to this side here, but you'll notice that there is actually still room for me to bring the handlebars even closer and get this angle up a little bit more. Let's go back to the back of the bike here, because one thing that's interesting is that we only have a 500-watt motor, and this bike goes up to 29.5 miles an hour, and it doesn't feel necessarily like you're getting only 500 watts when you start to get the higher speeds. When you do kind of feel that it's maybe a little lesser power than a 750 is when you actually have your initial startup from a dead stop. And not to say that it's underpowered, it's just that it is kind of well tuned to be a gradual increase where you don't get that pop that actually happens with a lot of bikes where it just feels as though it's jerking forward and taking off. It's a very smooth acceleration. It gives a much more real bike feel when you're actually taking off with starting on this bike. So that's one thing that's really interesting about this. Now, with the gearing, you have a 7-speed Shimano turning derailleur, and we have a cassette, a 7-speed cassette in the back here, also Shimano. I'm not sure exactly what the gearing is. I think it's a 44 tooth in the front, which could have been a little bigger, so that when you're at higher speeds, now of course it was designed out of the box to go 20 miles an hour to be a class 2. So 44 tooth in the front, and this, I think this is an 11 tooth in the back, which would be adequate gearing so that you're not air pedaling at 20 miles an hour. Now when I hit at 28, I'm still pushing the bike, but I am pedaling quite fast. And you'll see some of the footage. What I tried to do is catch up with our camera bike, which can go up to about 31 miles an hour. And when I caught up to it, I then hit the throttle to see if it would maintain it. And, you know, it did. It did a good job. At 29 and a half, it will maintain it once you actually, if you want to get up to that speed really quickly, you just help it along with the gearing that you have here. It'll push it up to there, and then you can do it. And, of course, at PS level 5, it's giving you a lot of help to get there. So it's not like you're huffing and puffing and sweating your way to get to that level. If you haven't noticed, what's really cool also is that some of the newer design styles that have been coming out in the frames is that you have actually 3 sets of brake lights. You have a light on this side of the frame, one here and one here. I'll have some pictures that will be added in from when it was in the garage and how bright it is. And even when we started off this morning, that's the first thing John had mentioned when he was riding beside me with the camera bike, saying, whoa, those lights are really attractive to the eye, where he said go ahead and hit it a couple of times because he wanted to come on the side to see if it gave a really nice bright illuminant. And even in the morning with the sun already out, he could actually see the brake lights. What you'll notice is that we have a beautiful screen. Problem with one thing I'm going to say about this screen is, as beautiful as it is sometimes polarized sunglasses may be a little hard for it to see. The other thing is, if you notice, I'm holding it for about 5 seconds before it turns on. So Mokwheel, just need to keep in mind that a lot of bikes you only need to hold for maybe 2 to 3 seconds. For some reason, I feel as though we need to hold this about 4 to 5 before it actually turns on, which, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is something that took me by surprise because I thought maybe it wasn't turning on because I had expected to be faster. So you have your basic power, up, down, and then your headlight here, which I really like this setup. And below here, which I thought was kind of funny, scared me because I didn't know what it was for last night. I was in the garage, I couldn't see it, but we have a little horn here, which, you know, it won't scare people to death when you're actually on the trail. But it's loud enough for that to let people know that you're coming, which is great. And then, of course, you have your headlight where you just have to hold this down here quickly, and it turns on your headlight. There's a little indicator showing that your light is on. And as you come back to the back here, you'll be able to see that we have the lights turn on the side. So you are visible from both sides of the bike. And this is, again, right now it's 11:20 in the morning. So the sun is bright and you can still see that the lights are on. And we also have our tail light on right now here. And then let's go back here. We have some really interesting setting positions. I'm not going to go through all the menu, but just so you know, it's a very intuitive menu. When you hit these 3 together, in fact, let me see if I can show you what happens with this display, because I think I've seen this happen where you see how sunglasses actually will take away the reflective part of it. And just so you know, also, this here is an accessory, just that every time that you are seeing speed on your screen and overlay when we're looking at the ride footage, that's because this is a GPS tracker. It's not part of the bike here. It's just something to make sure that you are actually seeing the speed of this bike on the overlay screen. This is also a water bottle holder from eBike Products. This is on our website. You can get one of these at ebikeproducts.com/shop. We have a ton of these, and they fit on every type of bike, which is one of our top selling accessories. I put it on here because, as you can see, one thing that they did not do, which a lot of e-bikes don't have, maybe because they think that we're going to be not getting as thirsty because we don't have to pedal, but there's no place to mount a water bottle cage. So in that case, that is why these are so popular. We can put one on each side, so if you want 2 bottles, you can actually do that. It also has a pocket here for a cell phone if you want to put in a cell phone. It's a stretchy, and it won't fall out once it's there. If you are looking for a commuter bike You like a bike that has a natural feel like a regular bike, doesn't look so much like an e-bike, but has some incredible performance with a torque sensor on there. It is well worth the, I mean, telling you that is a good deal for a bike like this. With everything that I'm actually seeing here, the comfort and feel of it, you do get some really good performance on it. And there is a 22 amp controller built into it. Also, it's a 48 volt battery. And with the up 60-mile range that you get per charge, this is an ideal commuter bike. It does come with this rack on it. In fact, everything else that you see other than the water bottle and the GPS monitor on it, everything else here is standard on the bike. You also have these mounts so that if you want to put a front rack on, it did not come with a front rack, but obviously you can put one on here. And let's go ahead, also sticking with the cockpit still that we have up here. Again, we have a left side thumb throttle. Some people may not like thumb throttles, but to be honest, I'm gonna tell you, if you get a thumb throttle, it's so easy to get used to. And the reason why they have a thumb throttle on the left, because people say, why do they even do that? Is because this has paddle shifters for your right side shifting. And if you don't know what paddle shifters are, basically to go up and down on your gearing for here, these gears here, you basically just have to go push up for going up into higher gear or lower gears. When you're going to go up a hill, you just kind of crank one time. And then when you want to go faster, higher gears, you go the other way around. So, you know, low gear, high gear. So when you're going to go all the way to high gear, when you want to go really fast all of a sudden, you just hit this a couple times and boom, you start shifting all the way down. When you're going up into coming up on a hill or some kind of incline, you can just go ahead and paddle this way up or back way. So because this is here, this takes up the space of the throttle cables that are needed, which is why these type of shifters are better in some cases, and some people consider it even safer, mostly because your hand, when you're shifting, your thumb is always going to be in a grip level, where some of the other shifters are up here. If you were to come to a stop, you could slide off. You don't have your thumb holding your grip here. You know, I mean, I've never had an issue with either one, but I understand why they do what they do here. The other thing is, this brake system has this big piece here because you have hydraulic brakes. So this is where the oil goes in. Both sides, we have hydraulic brakes, and this takes up more space. And that is one of the reasons why a throttling system on the right hand with everything else that's here would be very difficult, and why they put a thumb throttle on the left, which is a great alternative to the problem that it solves, you know, that with the lack of space. You have your secondary cable here indicating both sides that you do have your your motor cutoffs. So if you hit the brakes, it automatically sends a signal to the motor, cuts it off, so you're not fighting the bike to stop because the motor automatically shuts off. So it comes with the fenders, comes with the rack, comes with everything else that you see here ready to ride when you take it out of the box. The assembly does take a little more time than some of the other bikes, and it is only because Mokwheel does a fantastic job of packing this bike so that when you get it, it will come in the way they intended it to come. Regardless of how hard FedEx might destroy some of the other boxing and bikes that come in, with this bike being as heavy as it felt, I think a lot of the weight I thought was so heavy was because the box was so well protecting this bike when I got it. It was kind of impressive. Even the gluing that they did, again, took me by surprise at how hard it was to get the flaps off or up, because they glued it so well to make sure that the bike stayed stable. But this was well boxed, probably one of the best, strongest boxing that I've seen. Looking at this battery here, by the way, also, it does have an indicator so that if the battery is not in the bike when you're charging it, you can push the button on the inside. It'll light up to say how much indicator. And this is also really good. It actually has a 5-level meter. A lot of other bike companies just put 3 different colors, LED, and that will just change colors to let you know. But this actually gives you a stronger indicator of your bike level range. Now, we've had this bike on for a while, and the display is still on. But what I wanted to also show here is that we do have our battery meters on the side here showing you, so that you know where you're at, with a lot of different dots to show your ranging on it. It does come with a 3-amp charger, so that is a fast charger in I guess more bike terms. A lot of other companies will put in some less expensive chargers at 2 amps, which would take about 7 hours to charge it, a little more than 7 hours to recharge this bike completely from dead. At a 3-amp charger, you get pretty much recharge this bike between 5 to 6 hours. So that's another big benefit here. You don't have to wait as long if you need to get it charged up fast. But of course, as the efficiency of this bike is better, you can get away with potentially not having to charge it as quickly. They do make a step-through model, which is something I really want to point out. If you're liking what you're hearing about this bike and you think, well, you know, I would love it. I wish it would make one for someone of even a smaller stature, 5'5" and below. Without having that crossbar being so high, you wouldn't have any issue at, as I would say, almost as low as 5'3" or 5'2". I know that this is a bike that my sister, who's at 5'2", would easily be able to really enjoy. You know, she's a strong rider, so she could even ride this one with the seat all the way down, especially because the gradual pickup that it has, the way that it's set. If you like and appreciate this bike, please, I'd like to hear your comments about what you think about Mokwheel. If you've ever heard anything about them, they are a definite contender for some of the best bikes on the market. And that's from experience, from what we've had from other bikes that we've tested. And this is a good testament, again, to a great bike being made at a very reasonable price. That's another thing too. It's a bike worth considering if you're looking for a bike that you want to commute longer distances, you want a regular feel, and you just want quality. This is a really high quality bike. Thank you so much for Mokwheel for sending this for review. I really appreciate it. If you use the link below, it is an affiliate link that does help to support your channel. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.